Do you really know what is or isn't in the food you're eating? I'd be willing to bet that at some point you've had cereal, potato chips, milk, or ice cream. You may even have some of that in your homes right now. If so, you're probably eating genetically modified ingredients. These are products that have their genes altered in a laboratory. So now that you have a basic understanding of what a genetically modified crop is, let's talk about the common types of genetically modified crops, the advantages and the disadvantages. We've already established that you're probably eating genetically modified crops. You may not have known it though, because food labels don't require it. So what are the common types of genetically modified crops? Well, corn is the #1 crop grown in the United States, so it's no surprise that according to the Huffington Post, nearly all of it, 88%, is genetically modified. Corn is modified to include an insect-killing gene. This way, farmers don't have to spray pesticides because the insects die from eating the corn. According to the United States Department of Agriculture, farmers in nearly every state of the United States are growing genetically modified corn. Soy is another genetically modified crop. 93% of soy is genetically modified. According to the Discovery Channel, because soy is widely used in the production of other items, including cereal, baked goods, chocolate, and even ice cream, chances are that everyone in the United States is eating genetically modified soy. A more interesting genetically modified crop is golden rice. Golden rice was created to help fight vitamin A deficiency. The Discovery Channel says vitamin A deficiency affects 250 million people around the world, and half of the world's population survives on rice. So scientists were able to take this rice and genetically modify it to include vitamin A. So now that you know the common types of genetically modified crops, let's talk about the advantages. Genetically modified crops last longer. Take tomatoes, for example. They were the first genetically modified crop to reach stores. They are only modified so that they will last longer. Because genetically modified crops have a longer shelf life, it decreases the amount of wasted crops in food. Another advantage is that genetically modified crops can help create new crops. For example, according to HubPages, scientists have identified the gene responsible for caffeine in coffee beans, and they are now able to grow decaffeinated coffee beans. But perhaps one of the biggest advantages are the advantages to the environment. Genetically modified crops are modified to be resistant. Because less pesticide has to be sprayed into the air, soil, and water, hazards go down. A peer-reviewed study by the British firm PG Economics showed that a total of 965 million pounds of pesticide haven't been used because of the adoption of genetically modified crops. Matt Ridley, a scientist who graduated from Oxford University, has said that the genetically modified crops grown in 2010 had an effect on carbon dioxide emissions equivalent to taking 8.6 million cars off of the road. So genetically modified crops have a longer shelf life, can help create new products, and are environmentally friendly. What about the disadvantages? When we build resistancy, we eventually produce immunity. Some scientists fear super weeds or super pests. They fear that these weeds and pests will eventually become immune to the pesticides, and we will no longer have a control over them. Another disadvantage is that genetically modified crops can possibly bring harm to other organisms. Less pesticide is being used, so genetically modified crops are environmentally friendly in that aspect, but the actual genes that are modified may become poisonous to other insects. This actually happened in California. A corn that had been genetically modified turned out to kill a number of monarch butterflies. The Union of Concerned Scientists has said, the widespread planting of this corn could affect an estimated 50% of the butterfly population. And this brings us to our third disadvantage, which is unharmonized safety and testing standards. In this case, the Environmental Protection Agency hadn't yet addressed all threats before the corn was approved. And because there are so many agencies regulating this, like the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Agriculture, it's hard to have one set of standards and to have everything organized. So we now know about genetically modified crops. We know that we all consume them, and we know about the advantages and the disadvantages. So hopefully the next time you consume a soy or corn product, you'll have a little bit more awareness of what is or isn't in the food you're eating.